Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Brandon. Welcome to Audio Addiction, where you can find latest album reviews. You can find our band interviews, and you can find live coverage of the concerts that we get. I'm doing this album review, Like Moths To Flames, also Polaris' new record, the Mortal Coil, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. I don't have it right in front of me, but that one I'm doing as well as Sleep on It, and maybe another one, but those are the three that I have in the works at the moment. So if you enjoy any of those bands, make sure to subscribe, make sure to hit that thumbs up. We got a lot of cool stuff that I'll be announcing really soon, and I'm excited to share that with you guys. So tonight, like I said, we're going to be talking about Like Moths To Flames' new record, Dark Divine. So for those of you who haven't heard about this band, they've been around for quite some time. They've been with Rise for all of their time here. When We Don't Exist, Eye for an Eye, and then there's another one that I can't remember, and that's also the newest one. But they had this new album release. They've been pretty quiet as of recently. The last time I saw them was on the Rise Up tour, which was Memphis Mayfire, Silverstein, and another Rise band that I can't. Oh, Devil Wears Prada, of course. And then, of course, Like Moths To Flames. So they had released a lot of these songs. I would say the first 6 songs are all singles. And they also released a stream today of the new record. And, you know, I'll be honest, like the first single, Nowhere Left to Sink, I wasn't really onto it at first, but as the singles kept releasing, I really got excited for the record, and I'm excited to share my thoughts on it with you guys. I'm going to go through each track, give my thoughts and opinions on it. I'm going to go through some pros and cons of the record, and then I'm going to round it out with an overall rating. So the first track off the record is New Plagues. This is not a single, but I would say 2 through 6 are singles. I'm 100% positive on that. But this one's really good. It starts off really cool. It has this sort of ethereal feeling to it, very ambient, but it definitely picks up afterwards. I feel like Chris definitely starts off the track at around the 46-second mark with some really great screaming. However, I felt like this track is meant to highlight and showcase his clean vocals. I would say that most of these songs he uses a lot of cleans, which I was surprised about. If you listen to previous records, I mean, he uses cleans, but not nearly as much on this record as in comparison. So I definitely like that. I've always liked Chris Roeder as a vocalist. I liked him back when he was in Emarosa for their very first record. And A Graceful was another awesome band that I grew up listening to as well. And I followed him into Like Moths To Flames. So I'm excited to see the progression. I know he's a great clean vocalist. I know he's an awesome screamer. So I definitely wanted to see how well he stacked up with that. So continuing in with New Plagues, I feel like the instrumentals have this really great bounce to it as well and groove to it. I like the more melodic approach, especially in the choruses more specifically, and I think it's a great opener track despite it having a slower start to it. I feel like it definitely comes into its own, and you know, after multiple listens, it's one that is one of the better tracks off the record. So we're gonna move into track number 2, which is Nowhere Left to Sink. This is the first single that they released, and I'll be honest, like I mentioned previously, I wasn't really sold on it upon first listens, but it has slowly become one of my favorites off the record. I am in love with the chorus of this track. I feel like Chris absolutely stepped up his clean vocal presence in this album. Again, much reminiscing in terms of like Emarosa and A Graceful, those sorts of clean styles. I feel like he carries that sort of same momentum with that, and I definitely appreciate that, being just somebody who's followed him for a while. I definitely like that. I also like that they didn't stop on the sort of heaviness of what they're known for too. I feel like the instrumentals, you know, didn't really kind of rely on screams to, you know, make the song good. I love that this track is heavy, but it still has awesome cleans to it, and I don't think there's any screaming on this track, which is really great. And it's, to me, it's a great follow-up to New Plagues, which I thought was a really great track, and it's just catchy, and just all around, it was a song that I didn't think I was gonna like, but it slowly become one of my favorites off the record, and just really grown on me, and just it just feels right. I don't know. It's just something about their sound when they switched it up in this record. I feel like they do have tracks that are very reminiscent of their past, and I'll get into those. But there are some tracks where they're trying to change and be, be different, and I appreciate that. Just as somebody who listens to have been listening to them for a while and just does reviews, I appreciate the change up and just trying to do something that is not the same as the last record. I feel like that shows growth, and as an artist, I appreciate that immensely. So we're gonna move into track number 3, which is "Shallow Truths" for Shallow Minds. This one is another single. I think this was the second one that was actually released as well. Not entirely sure, but this one's another really solid one. It's definitely has a more of a familiarity to it if you listen to "When We Don't Exist," "Eye for an Eye," and then I'm gonna probably put in the title of the album that I can't remember that they did. I know that there's another album, so don't chew me out for that. But it definitely reminds me of heavier parts of "When We Don't Exist." Another really great chorus, highlighted by Chris's clean singing. There's this nice breakdown in around the 2 minutes and 24-second mark to the 2 minutes and 41-second mark. However, I feel like it lacks a little bit of punch. Maybe it's just because, I don't have the full album in 320, whatever. But it just lacked a sort of like punch to it that, I have known and come to love about this band. Definitely something different, but I still like it. I feel like if it had some punch, this would definitely be higher in the ranks. It's still a really great track, but I feel like if it was a little bit punchier, it would just hit with so much more force. It has great bounce to it, and it definitely has more heavier elements between, like, for example, between the 1 minute and 30-second mark to the 1 minute and 50-second mark. It's got a really great riff that I'd like to point out, and I think this one is a really good bouncy track. Again, harkening back to their older style, and I definitely like that. So we're gonna move into track number 4, which is "Dark Divine," the title track of the record. This one definitely wastes no time in starting up. It throws you right in. I like the back and forth, the cleans and screams in this song as well. I feel like that's a really great play off of each other. Just sonically, it just works really well. I also like that Chris rides that sort of fine line between cleans and kind of gritty tonality. It really works in this track, and more specifically, much like "Shallow Truths," this one has great bounce, great heaviness to it. I like that they followed it up with another heavy track. Not saying that I didn't like "Nowhere Left to Sink," but these are the songs that I associate Like Moths To Flames with, so I definitely appreciate that. The harmonies and the echoes in the chorus definitely add a nice balance to the track, and it also shows a little bit of Chris's range in terms of how much clean range he's gotten. He really has worked on that a lot, and I feel like that's a focal point of a lot of these tracks, is just how much range he's able to acquire, and just how much he hasn't shown off in previous records. So I definitely appreciate that. At the 2 minutes and 25-second mark to the 2 minutes and 45-second mark, there's a really great sort of, I think it's a breakdown part. It sounds really awesome, really heavy, really brutal, and another great chorus to follow up this track. And we're just keeping with the really good songs off this record. So we're gonna move into track number 5, which is "Empty the Same." This is another single that was released. I like that Chris has been pretty diverse with his vocal range, anywhere from like those really high, almost like kind of falsetto-y parts. He's got some gritty vocals. His range is kind of mid to high, and then he has some really kind of lower register singing in this song, which I think works very well. The verses are softer, and the choruses definitely build to a powerful end. The chorus is definitely a focal point and my favorite part of "Empty the Same." The instrumentals have more of that melodic focus as well, but they really accent Chris's cleaner, sort of softer side on this track, especially in the verses, and just liking the more subtle approaches relating to this track. I also like that they didn't have to rely on screens to carry the track. It really kind of finds a great balance of both. Mostly cleans, but there's some screams mixed in there, and I like that there's a counterbalance between those. So we're gonna move it into track number 6, which is from the Dust the From the Dust Returned. This one is probably the most recent one, quote unquote, that they've released. This track has more of the heavier aspects, again, that you would relate to like Moths to Flames. The song definitely focuses more on Chris's screaming range and skills, which haven't, to me, skipped a beat since any of the records that they've done. I've always thought he's been a solid screamer. So I definitely appreciate that there are songs that just focus more on his screaming side as opposed to anything else. I do appreciate those songs, but I do appreciate the clean songs as well. So I don't want to discount that at all. The tracks definitely have more of a dark undertone to it, and at the 2 minutes and 32-second mark to the 2 minutes and 52-second mark is probably my favorite breakdown off the record. Just hits with such force, and that's what I'm talking about. That was missing in, I believe it was Shallow Truths. It just lacked that punch, and this one just has that just punch. I don't know how to explain it, but it just hits you in a way. And this one definitely kind of harkens back to those old roots, and I love that a lot, that they didn't discount their older sound at all, and they kept it much the same. So we're gonna move into track number 7, which is Even God Has a Hell. This one was really different, and I feel like it's something to point out from the rest of the record. It's more melodic and not as heavy. I feel like it focuses on, I mean, there are some heavy parts, don't get me wrong, but this one, just in terms of change up, I think they changed a lot in this one, much like Nowhere Left to Sink. I'd say those two are probably the more, I guess, out of bounds tracks. Not to say that they're wild or anything, but just they experimented a lot with those, and it just worked out in a really great way. The vocal melodies constructed in the songs are really awesome. I love them. It's something that I've come to enjoy in this track. It mixes great moments of cleans and screams, and I like that they've tied different aspects of their sound into one song pretty much for the most part. I love the part between the 3 minutes and 13-second mark to the 3 minutes and 31-second mark. There's a really cool breakdown and just a great catchy chorus to follow up the track. I think it's really well constructed, and it's definitely one of the better tracks off Dark Divine. So we're going to move into track number 8, which is Mischief Manage. This one is easily one of the heavier tracks off the record. After listening to it through a few times, this one definitely feels amongst the top, and is closest. This one, and I think Instinctive Intuition, I feel like those two are the most close to previous or older records of like Moths to Flames. So I feel like a lot of people will like both of these tracks. But getting back to the review part, I like the inclusion of piano. Adds a little bit of diversity to the track, and especially the choruses. There's a good balance of cleans and screams, much like Even God Has a Hell, and there's this awesome breakdown at the 2 minutes and 23-second mark to the 2 minutes and 38-second mark that just has some cool guitar leads in it, which I was not expecting, but it worked very well into the track. And just ending the track off with a heavy note, I feel like this one, much like Instinctive Intuition, will probably be some of the favorites of most people, but I've been loving it so far. Not gonna lie, it's been really great, and I've been appreciating this sort of change up musically from like Moths to Flames. So we're gonna move into track number 9, which is Instinctive Intuition, much like the one I was talking about earlier. This one is another heavy one. Again, it's probably one of the heavier tracks off the record. This one has a great balance and groove to it. It's one of those standout tracks in my opinion. Another really strong chorus. I think that has been a really good focal point and a really good measure of how well they've become and just how much they've grown in terms of writing style. I feel like this is probably their best work to date in terms of song structure, songwriting, and just concoction of songs. I feel like they just have worked out the best. Instrumentally is one of the best songs they've written in my opinion, and one of the best songs off the record, period, without a doubt. soaring choruses, bouncy, groovy verses. Much of what I love about Like Moths To Flames. The vocals are mixed and diverse, which keeps it really interesting, especially as somebody who does a lot of reviews. I feel like this one kept it very interesting. And there's this really great drop and breakdown at the 2 minutes and 12-second mark to the 2 minutes and 33-second mark. So we're going to move into track number 10, which is The Skeletons I Keep. This one is really great. I was not expecting this one to be good either, to be quite honest with you, after multiple listens, but I feel like, again, after multiple listens, this one has become much of a grower to me. Really enjoying the instrumentals of this one. I feel like they are definitely the focal point of this track. There's this cool little breakdown at the 1 minute and 31-second mark to the 2 minute mark. It really came out of nowhere and I wasn't really expecting it, but it works really well in this track. The chorus is really solid and there's multiple vocal parts that just add this fullness and just power to the track, which I appreciate. Overall, it's a really heavy track with great vocals and awesome riffs. It's definitely a standout track in my opinion. And yeah, we're going to move it into the last track, track number 11, which is False Idol. This is the best song off the record, period. Like, I feel like they combined Dark Divine and they've combined past Like Moths To Flame records, and they've really kind of mixed their sounds together, and they created this beautiful masterpiece to finish off the record with. I feel like it represents old and new Like Moths To Flames. There are plenty of parts in this song that remind me of When I Don't Exist, all that sort of stuff. Eye for an Eye, those sorts of albums, and then the new one or newest one that I can't remember because I'm getting older. But it just works out in the best way. Chris sounds the best in this track. I know that might be misconstrued amongst most people, but I feel like he fits sonically the best in this track. The guitars have great riffs, great bounce to them, and the instrumentals are just on another level to me, in my opinion. It just, this one was just taking up another level, and I appreciate that. Amongst the sort of heavier tracks as well, especially at parts, the 2 minutes and 6-second mark to the 2 minutes and 22-second mark, it's a really cool dissonant breakdown, which I was totally not expecting, but it works so well in this track as well. And it's a great way to end off this record. Like I said, I think it's one of the best songs off Dark Divine, period. And I'm excited for most people to check out this record. I hadn't heard about him for a while, and I was kind of worried if they weren't going to release anything, because I do see Greg, because he actually lives close to where I live, and it's really cool to see that. But was really on the fence about this record, but I really think they killed it. I think this is their best material to date. It really combines aspects of old and new Like Moths To Flames, which is a really big pro for me in this record. Really diverse in sounds. There's some really sort of lighter rock songs, and there's some really heavy tracks which work out very well. The sound change, I think, worked in their favor. Sometimes that's kind of a rough transition, but I feel like they just mix very well together, and there weren't moments of where I was like questioning why they did it. It just works out very well. There's some really heavy tracks, there's some really different melodic tracks, and it works, in my opinion. Cleans and screams from Chris, I don't think he's sound better in a while, so this is really great to see him at his peak. I hope that the next record continues on that same pace, but it's going to be really hard to follow this record up with. I would care to say that this is their best record to date. I know I keep saying it, but it really is. I think it's their best material. The song structure works very well. The melodies are really memorable. The songs are really memorable. And it's one album that I like going back to listen to. And there is a great amount of heaviness for just those times where I'm like, I want to listen to something heavy. But then there's some really great parts where it's more melodic and there's stuff that I can sing along to. So I love that great balance between the two. It just works really well in this album, and again, I think it's their best work to date. So we're gonna give Like Moths To Flames Dark Divine a rating of a 9.6 out of 10. Highly recommend checking out this one. Some of my favorites are Nowhere Left To Sing, Shallow Truths for Shallow Minds, Empty the Same, Dark Divine, Mischief Manish, and Instinctive Intuition. Those tracks are some of my favorites, and even some of the new ones, like New Plagues is another really great one. I think this whole album is solid from front to back. There really aren't any lulls. and it just works. Their sound change worked for the better, and I'm super proud of this band. They're one of those bands that I love listening to, and I just like the change up in this one. Also, they're going to be going on tour with Phineas in Heart's Wake and Fit for a King this next week. I think it's actually going to be starting really soon, so definitely check out that. Check out their new record, Dark Divine. If you liked my review, make sure to subscribe, make sure to hit that thumbs up. Let me know what your thoughts are on this record. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? I'd love to know in the comments whether you think I'm right or wrong. I would love to have a conversation about it. I feel like I'm pretty open about that, so definitely let me know in the comments below. Also, if you enjoy us a lot, again, subscribe, make sure that thumbs up, and also we have merch. If you'd like to support me and continue to help me push this channel, definitely pick something up. I would really greatly appreciate it, and I hope to be doing more of these album reviews to come soon, like I mentioned. So there's plenty of good stuff along the way, and I hope that you'll check that out as well. So my name is Brandon. We hope you got your fix, and we'll be talking with you soon. Peace. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Of course, if you enjoy what we do, make sure to go check out the other series we do. We do album reviews, we do band interviews, and we do live videos, so definitely go check that out. Hit that subscribe button. It really helps our channel, helps us grow. Make sure to hit that like button as well. Go follow us on social media. That's all down below. We try to keep that as updated as possible. We also made a new website where we'll be posting photos of upcoming concerts and stuff like that, which you can go check out at audioaddictionmedia.com and come get your fix with us, guys. Talk to you later. Deuces.